not too far.
Okay, 6:59.
Well, we got a week.
I'm just
7
getting ready.
you're-
7 o'clock.
Yeah,
You're putting a lot of pressure on us, Don.
sorry. It's like to be on top.
Did you guys sign off the resolution?
No,
No, we
we've
haven't
done.
signed any.
Haven't done any, they didn't pass us anything.
Moving from out, yes.
We're saving them all for you.
Oh, I can pass them all, eh?
Are you ready?
Ready as we're gonna be. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Public Works meeting. Moved by Paquette, seconded by Corbett, that the Public Works Committee be opened at 7 PM. All in favor? Carried. Oops. Moved by Corbett, seconded by Paquette, that the agenda for the Public Works Committee meeting for September 6, 2023 be approved and circulated as amended. All in favor? Carried. Any disclosure or pecuniary interests? Seeing none. Before we get too far into the meeting, I would just like to thank the Public Works for fireworks, getting the fireworks ready. The ground looked good. And, you know, all the prep work and the fire department did a really good job.
We were in the background watching.
Yeah, no, it was really good. It went off really well and there was a big turnout, so.
Yes, it
that
was.
was good.
It was a good success.
That was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Some people didn't like it because of their dogs, but
My
other
dog had
people
a
said
stroke.
it's awesome.
It's once or twice a year. Yeah.
I just couldn't believe how good they were. Like, they were, I was just like the kids, my grandchildren came from North Bay and they couldn't believe how good they were. They
Yeah,
really
no.
were.
Moved by Clark, seconded by Corbett, that the minutes of the Public Works Committee held July 19th, 2023 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Now we're gonna roast. Yeah.
They saved a little bit of good one.
Delegations or presentations, Dan?
None for this evening.
Correspondence information?
It's kind of within our documents for the meeting.
New business recommendations to council?
I was trying to get council up to speed because you are a new council and there's been a lot of background things happening with the recycling transitioning. So I provided a report to try to get the council up to speed. It's very difficult with the recycling transition that's happening because there's like CIF, CMO, RPRA, EPA. There's a lot of acronyms that are used for the different entities that are involved. So I did my best by putting like a little video with the email so that you could get caught up with that, what the circular economy is all about and the part that we play, as well as this company that the provincial government has hired called Circular Materials Ontario. So basically, producers of recycling. So for instance, if you buy something from Amazon that comes in a cardboard box, they will be responsible to pay municipalities for their recycling programs under the legislation that was produced for the Circular Economy Act. The province has recognized that we as municipalities should not be paying for that service. And perhaps it will also teach producers to minimize the recycling that they are producing, because now they're going to have to pay for it. And actually the municipality had to provide documentation about how much paper we actually use as well, because we could have been part of that producer responsibility organization. So during this process, there are different options that the municipality are being presented with choosing. You could either opt into the program or opt out of the program. So at the beginning, there was lots of conversation because the government wasn't really matching what townships pay for recycling. There was issues with a lot of, we don't have that as particularly as other communities where they have garbage trucks, recycling trucks. So they have lots of assets to consider for to transition. We're a depot only transitioning community. So in speaking with our neighboring municipalities within Almaguin and ourselves, we're all kind of waiting to see what happens to the transition in 2023. The transition for the Township of Bonfield is for April 2025. So there is time sort of for us to view what happens to others. The County of Haliburton, and forgive me if I say it improperly, Des-Arts-TL, they're a depot only community, and they're one of the first ones that are going to be going to the transition first. And John Watson is a big supporter of educating us as a group. So we're all kind of waiting to see what happens to John Watson and Des-Arts-TL.
Did they opt in or?
They opted in.
They did.
So far, no depot only communities have opted out. And I'll just quickly read a quick email if you don't mind, because I just received this since I prepared the agenda. We work with the CIF. That's the company that also helped us get the recycling bins at cost. And they're a provincially funded company. And they're also helping all of us municipalities with training. We're in working groups, etc., and how we're going to proceed. And they give their ideas, and they actually represent the municipalities and not CMO. So I sent an email just to ask them quickly, like, what happens if we opt out? Has everybody decided? And I wouldn't say that there are consequences of opting out, but rather there are risks associated opting out for a depot only community. Per the regulation, the pros, producers, must try to maintain the same level of service during a transition. So in your case, they would need to try to find a depot, re-educate your residents to bring blue box recycling to a different location. There is a risk in this, as we all know, change is hard for residents to digest, and it may result in more recyclables ending up in your stream. It would also take a significant amount of time for Circular Materials to procure other depots, depending on your area, and we would have to ask ourselves, are there other private depots around, or are we the only game in town? It is best to choose the option that works for your local community. There is no right or wrong decision. I would say that it is most important to read the different agreement options that Circular Materials website with your team and legal counsel to come up with questions. Have discussions with Circular Materials to get clarity. Determine if you're able to meet the terms of the agreement, and determine if the compensation is adequate. And then go to council with a recommendation to move forward. Circular Materials may be able to negotiate on items that are more important to you and your community alone. But if you're unable to sign an agreement with Circular Materials, or if negotiations aren't successful, opting out is the only other option that I am aware of, unless you wanted to lease your site. But that gets also complex because you would be leasing your property to Circular Materials. For depot communities, the agreement that applied to you are below, and I've been reviewing the agreements. Let me know if this helps. I know it's not a straight answer. We haven't heard of any depot-only communities officially opting out, but I think we're all still waiting. So I just wanted to bring forward the material so that you're educated. So when we get further into the process, that you understand what is going on.
So is a depot could be up to an hour away from our community?
That is right.
if we opt out. If we opt out. This is very important information. I
Very.
think it might have gone hand in hand with our clear bag endeavor if people understood that this was coming down the pipe, right?
Right.
So
So the more we recycle
Yeah.
now shows circular materials, no, because they're using numbers that we have from
Yes.
2020, and that's a
Yes.
big deal
And
right
so
now.
do they pay actual costs then?
No, they have it
Yeah.
all formulated.
Right, and
Which-
so is there negotiations available on
Yes.
that?
So they've just, and things are changing like daily.
Yeah.
So honestly, the new contracts that were just presented to us were revised in May. And that's probably the 7th contract.
And how long are the contracts for?
That's the contract, new one. So I can't answer you yet. I haven't
Okay,
gotten all the
okay,
way
no
through it.
problem.
Go ahead, Mary.
And so you say, we're not opting out, we're just making a decision to kind of put it on hold, or do we have to opt out?
We don't have to make that decision tonight because we are a 2025 community. It is coming soon.
No.
I think that it would be wise if we join the crowd and kind of wait to see what's going on with
Mhm.
2023. They just sent us out a survey this week for our next meeting with CIF. And in that survey, it does say, like, are you a transitioning community? Are you depot only? What happened? What was good? What was bad? So our next meeting will be based on some of those communities that have opted out or opted in.
Go ahead.
So if we could put together an executive summary on the circular economy, I think, and send it out with our newsletter, because I think the public needs to understand what we have to do. Like, we have no choice in this.
No.
And it's a great thing for us. We're not going to pay for recycling anymore, right? So the more we recycle, the better it is for us.
100%,
Yeah.
because not only are we saving our landfill, but we're allowing the province to pay for the recycling that's being removed
Correct.
instead of the taxpayer paying for the landfill to be used, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So our motion tonight is just that. It's to say, like, we think that we should sit back, kind of wait. We'll still
Yeah.
go through the review of the agreements, and we'll make that like a topic that we should discuss at every public works meeting until we're into that position where we have to make that
So we'll
choice.
see how much these other townships suffer and make our choice from there.
So I actually went to the presentation at AMO that did the circular economy, and there were 2 municipalities, one opted in and one opted out, but they had a household pickup, and one of them did lease their depot to CMO. So and they were, I mean, one of them was London, right, where we were. So bigger municipalities with more infrastructure and more assets. So
Yes, we own several of our bins, but I don't think it would be hard to use those or to sell them if it came into that position. So basically, if we opt in, we become kind of the service provider for circular materials. So we still do everything the same, but they pay us for it.
right.
And so we're still able to control, we're still able to control the level of service, when your bins are being emptied, et cetera, except they have very stringent requirements that we're still dealing with, like the payment, 4% contamination rate. However, British Columbia was the first province to actually go to a full circular economy with their recycling programs, and they achieved 4%.
But what is our current number for contamination? Do we have a?
It took us a while with the glass bin, to be honest, to get it up to par where it was accepted at the recycling facility. But that would mean like being a bit tougher in our recycling. Right now, we're just concentrating on the clear bags, but it would be like probably removing the lids from glass. No plastics inside your cardboard boxes, no foams, no staples, no liquor bottles in recycling material, because the liquor stores currently already feel they have their own recycling system set up because they have returnable bottles. So they will not participate in the producer responsibility organization. So that will be counted as contamination if it sits into the recycling bins.
So just to follow up on that, which I think you partially answered already. So if our contamination rates are higher than we'd like it to be, do we have a plan to start educating and bringing down our contamination rate even ahead of the circular economy?
Well, we have started with our signage and our educational flyers and our promotions. And that's one thing, actually, also Circular Materials is being required to provide us with that promotional material and educational material. So we have begun the process. It has gotten way better. We actually get our glass accepted now at the other end of the MRF. But I feel like because we're concentrating on the clear bags, etc., we perhaps are a little more lenient in the recycling area because we want just to get the recycling in there.
Right.
So we're not at a rate currently where it's returned to us.
Right.
So we're doing the right things. It's just that we would probably have to be more particular.
So then I guess my question would be, what are the instructions to the staff that are currently there? Because we're staffed, like every time I'm at the landfill or in the recycling area, there's a staff person there, but not like actively instructing me or teaching me or anything. So what are the expectations of staff?
So we currently have another staff member for our pilot project hired. He's being trained currently in recycling so that he can understand what's not supposed to be in the landfill.
Right.
And then he'll move to the face, and then there'll be 3 people working down there at all times. And then you'll have that extra ability to be going into that more educational.
Yeah, and that would be
program.
great, because honestly, I stand and I have my recycling bins, and I mean, cardboard's cardboard, but like I honestly stand there and I'm like, it would be great to just have somebody who's actively engaging. And
Right. There's another kind of hiccup I would maybe down the road, as I believe, just by what I'm reading, I think Circular Materials are only going to have 2 streams captured. So I think that one stream will be all paper and cardboard, and the next stream will be all containers. So all plastic cans and glass is going to be one stream.
which would be fantastic.
Right, so we're
Yeah.
gonna be,
Yeah, so then we're
right.
just working on the contamination issue.
right,
Well,
instead of like
is
figuring out
easy.
what bin
Yeah.
takes what,
Absolutely.
right? So it'll be just fibers and containers.
So the ineligible places, so the places of worship, the municipal buildings, so is there a plan for them then? If
So
they're
with
not
circular
eligible?
material, at first, they were going to deduct us 25% of the income you were supposed to make for accepting materials from businesses, schools, places of worship, facilities with more than 6 apartments in it. So I had to go through a process where I had to prove to them that we're actually at a 3% rate instead of 25%. So as we go through this process, we have to also determine, is the municipality willing to pay for the 3% and just accept everything as is, and we get deducted the 3%? Are we going to force our businesses to hold their own recycling at their building? Like I know, for instance, when I lived in Sudbury where I worked, your recycling went into a bin and that was hauled away and the business was charged for it. Or are we going to have a separate bin to take on just the ineligibles?
And so you've done a report to see, so it's 3%.
3%,
of-
not
yeah,
25,
yeah.
and we've already been accepted. Circular Materials has already accepted that. Yes, we do realize it's
Yeah,
only
yeah.
3%, not
So the
25.
ineligibles, where does that go? If we accept it, where's it going?
If we accept it, it still goes with
Same,
circular
yeah.
material, like it still goes through the
Same.
process. It's just that we'll be deducted 3% to ensure that that's being paid for.
And is that, why are they ineligible? Is there talk of is this just an interim thing?
Well, I
Like,
think they perhaps may be ineligible because they're the producer. In a sense.
a place of worship?
I don't know. I don't know why they're
Where-
avoiding the
What are they
term.
packaging?
Yeah.
What are they packaging
You
at
know what I
place of
mean?
worship? Yeah.
So I think they're viewing that,
Ah.
these businesses, et cetera, are part of the producers. like I said, we had to fill out paperwork ourselves to say, like, how much paper do we use out of here?
Yeah. I mean, campgrounds, they don't produce anything
Yeah.
anyway.
Go ahead.
Just one more question. It appears that the taxpayers are a little bit more receptive to the plastic bags.
I think so.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really heard too much.
No, it's
blowback.
kind of died down.
Yes, it's a change.
But nobody likes
we're
plastic,
human.
right?
But
Right.
there's still a lot of black bags in
Yes.
the landfill.
And
That's good.
yeah, because there was, the hard date was,
30th
Is the 30th,
of September.
September 30th.
And we're not the only community. And honestly, if you read the provincial legislation about the circular economy and the recycling legislation, it will not be permitted anyways by the end of
No.
2025. Like, we're actually on board quickly with this, and we won't be one of those communities that are lagging and not following the provincial policies that are set to us.
And I know you've been talking about this for a while, Anne, but it actually, did not click in my brain. My aha moment was at AMO, and it was like, what is this? And then, because you have been talking about it a lot, but I think if we had married the two, people might have understood better too, that this was the
Right.
direction. So if we did a really good education campaign.
So once the social media
Mhm.
thing is put together, I've already made a video so that it'll be
Yeah,
right. So I've made a PowerPoint presentation, and then they're going to record me sitting here on Zoom, I guess, speaking through the video, and then we'll be able to use that material for our website.
Good.
It also helps as it's so big that it's hard to remember every detail on us. And it would also will help with this going forward is right now, like for instance, one community doesn't take this material and then the other community
Right.
doesn't take that material. So it's very difficult when you go through communities because we all don't recycle the same.
Yeah.
And this will put in like a mandate,
standards.
right? And we all will begin to recycle the same. So we all have that education behind us when we go to a landfill.
Can I have a question that probably is slightly off topic, but this is just curious. Who determines what we would accept as recycling? Why is it only food grade plastic and
It's in
not,
the legislation.
Yeah.
but some communities accept?
So there's different stewardships already. So for instance, the tire program is a different stewardship outside of your blue box recycling material. So right now the province comes, the province doesn't, but a company comes, they pick up your tires, they recycle them for you for free. We don't pay that cost anymore. The electronics is another stewardship. So those are different stewardships, but the blue box material kind of got left as up in the air because of commodity costing.
Could be resources
yeah.
too, right? If you've got a lot of assets and you can afford to do it.
And
if
it
you're
was
a
that at the
community,
beginning,
yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
is
'cause
what
the
could your
larger
municipality afford to
cities, yeah,
recycle?
yeah.
right.
For instance, we've kind of had some light discussion about recycling mattresses. Well, we would have to increase the cost because right now that's not really underneath the blue box material recycling and there's no stewardship.
Mhm.
So the township would have to take that cost on
Mhm.
to grind
Pass
up
it on,
those or give
pass it
away
on.
those mattresses.
Mhm.
So there's still a lot of work moving forward. But I'm sure that it'll take time to get there. But like the blue box, it's a deadline, like April 2025.
Mhm.
Well, this will be my last.
Oh, no,
I get in trouble when
Now-
I do this.
now you know,
but,
I know how you feel now.
Yeah, the mayor gets me in trouble when I do. Oh, one more.
It's not a question, it's a comment. I work with a lady that is in an unorganized township. And she said they've been using clear garbage bags for 5 years. So, and that's not, that would be, I wonder if that community just did that, or if the province mandated it to them
I think they would have
in an
I think they
unorganized
would-
I
township.
don't think the clear bag is the mandate. It's about how
Recycling.
how we choose to not allow recycling to end up in the landfill to meet that provincial policy.
And because they're unorganized.
Yeah.
Yes, and I had to explain that too. So I can't really say what's going to happen because we do have 2 unorganized townships that pay to use our landfill.
Hmm.
Bolter Township and Ulrich.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Well, this is in Redbird, such folks, eh?
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no
And they use clear
local
bags,
road
right?
board there or anything, so
And they got the memo about the clear bags.
all that, yes.
Yeah.
They pay us $50 to have a landfill pass. So there's a bit of discussion yet on that because I just had to fill out a transition report and I had to mention that we do serve those two
Wow.
unorganized communities.
$50 for how many bags?
Yeah.
104, they got the same as everyone else. They pay
It's
50
per
bucks.
person and how many people? Like, what's the revenue on that?
$50.
We
per
honestly
person.
don't have that
Yeah.
many.
Four, it's $200.
We only really have what's on Boundary Road and Old Rig is a couple.
Oh,
Yeah.
like I'm just
I
trying to.
Yeah.
know where that
That
is.
doesn't make sense.
It's,
to me
in
my head.
Helen Lake.
Oh,
Yeah.
In behind Pelham Lake,
Oh, okay.
like where Old Rig, Phelps,
Per household.
all those
Mm,
townships.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, $50 per household, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No per person.
Well, but well, I'm just trying to get the math to make sense in my head. and Seems like a heck of a good deal.
Yeah,
provided.
how many,
Oh,
how
absolutely.
many,
Yeah.
It's been a long time since that's been reviewed as well, actually.
Yeah, fair.
and how many approximate households are there?
Maybe 10.
Oh, okay, well, it's not like it's getting.
Our farthest border is
Fair
Boundary
enough.
Road.
Okay.
Yes, there's a handful in there and then Old Rig
So
Township
that
and
was a
behind
good
Pelham.
question. Yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
question to ask.
As the follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
We'll let you.
Typically not, but if it would be
Yeah.
I
helpful
just
for sure.
noticed, like, when I go to the dump, I've been noticing the recycle bins are full, overflowing, and the stuff is going into the landfill.
So at the beginning of our program, I will admit that happened. We didn't have any concept or data to base on whether we remove the bin, not remove the bin. Also, because we do pay for the bins to be removed, we try to maximize the amount that we can get in there. So when those items come up, we bag like plastic and cans, we bag, or we put the cardboard to the side, and then once we get the bin emptied, we put it all back in the bin.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's still room for improvement on recycling. We all see it in
Yeah.
there, but I mean,
Well, I'm not being critical.
no, it's-
Actually, we have a report at the end to show how much more recycling.
right, and it's really stepped up, but
Yeah.
there's always room for improvement.
Always.
Yeah, another idea would be, again, to educate, if you had signs at the booth, just saying, these are the bags, get the bags here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make it like
Simple.
stupid proof.
All right, moved by Corbett,
That was a good report.
seconded by Clark. Whereas the Public Works Committee recommends to council to not make a decision to enter into an agreement with the Circular Materials Ontario until an observation of depot-only transitioning communities in 2023 are able to report their experiences with other municipalities. All in favor? Carried.
It's all about the landfill tonight.
Mhm.
It's a hot topic.
Great stuff.
So we had a discussion with the Public Works Committee in regards to doing topographical surveying of the landfill. I did request a quote from Pension. That is the company that we currently deal with for all our environmental water sampling at the landfill. Our post-closure reporting also comes from Pension. They offered a quote, which kind of threw me off for a topographical survey as well as a waste capacity assessment. As we all know, when we had our post-closure report given to us, Pension deemed that the one portion of our property that is licensed for landfill perhaps is not suited for landfill. And this assessment would let them have time to really go in there and assess the property. However, we did not budget for that this year. We did budget $2,000 this year for a topographical survey of the landfill. And they came back at $2,830 for a topographical survey. In emailing back and forth with them, I did provide them the topographical survey we do have on GIS, which was updated in 2021. So every several years, the mapping system that we have is updated, and it does show elevations in property. And it shows us the houses that are built without permits. It shows us, right? That map's great. So it does show the changes in the elevation. However, it's not as detailed as a topographical survey would be. They could do a survey of the material we use in the pit that we use to cover. They can take that as a survey the property, and they're able to determine how much of it is sand, how much of it, because they would know all that information. In speaking with the CAO, we thought, well, maybe we should wait to do this until 2025 because we're being cognitive of our budget. However, with the recycling program just beginning, perhaps we do need to do that study to get a database, since we're just starting out with the new recycling program.
So just a couple things on the last point. I'm not sure that there's a value to take a baseline now. The baseline would have been how quickly is it growing in the last 5 years compared to the next 5 years after a recycling program comes, and then or 3 years or whatever time frame, then we'd be able to actually truly evaluate if our recycling program is making an impact. That's what would make sense from a data perspective in my mind. And then my other question is, so is Pynchon, who else does this in the market?
Knights
that was my
PSO.
question. Are they
Sorry?
aware of the
Knights.
Knights Paisault?
Right.
Okay.
So they were our service provider.
Yes.
However, I've got a quote for 3 years of service, and this is our last year of that quote with Pynchon.
So I think my only concern is what I've seen or has happened so far is we will get wildly different assessments depending on who walks in and does the assessment, which is terrible for a municipality, given if we have to plan for the very expensive closure and reopening of the landfill, that dramatically impacts the resources that we need to be putting away now in the short amount of time that we have to landfill closure. So I would want to make sure that we are finding something that is being consistently measured across. Quite frankly, it shouldn't matter if it's a Knights Paisault or Pynchon that comes in. The number should be the number, and I'm confused as to why that changes.
So the GPS survey, I think, is a good thing every year, because then we can run with a 5-year average and just keep replacing that 1 year, and then you can see any anomalies. And then it also showed, you need that for reserves to know how much you got to put away, how much airspace we took away from our landfill.
Sure.
So we need those numbers yearly, like to know, and it work ties in with, asset management, everything.
So what causes to get a wildly different report? Did it happen in Nipissing where all of a sudden you lost 25 years of your landfill or
Yes.
something?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
what
we
causes
lost
that to
30.
happen?
So the company was, I'm saying a 5-year average. 1 year they would use an 8-year average, a 3-year average. They were a sliding scale. So that's why we use pick a number, 5-year average. And then you can see if it's our intake is consistent, higher, lower. I mean, you can't, no matter who does it, it's a GPS, reading. So you can't skew those numbers if you stick with the same formula.
Right, and is that the topical?
Yeah, the
topographical
$2,800.
survey? This isn't like the $5,000 is just, so we
Complete
could move
waste
forward with the
assessment.
$2,800, which is closer to a budget.
Right.
Park the waste capacity
We don't need-
assessment report until we can properly budget for it.
Right.
Is
I
that,
would think so as well. We have to take in consideration, that's why everything's in order in my agenda, the transition. We're going into that transition in 2025. Maybe that would be the time we do that waste assessment. The post-closure report again is due for reevaluation.
So how often? So you said, like, I was a little confused because you said in 2022, there was a post-closure study done. And then you said something about it is current to 2021. So is 2022, 2021 information
2021, they based the 2022 post-closure report on the 2021
Right.
topographical information.
Okay, so that, and then how often do we have to have this done? Is it legislated?
It's not legislated.
It's not legislated, however, your auditor
You need this
requires.
for your audit. You
Every
need-
year?
Yes, the $2,800 one.
Okay,
Like you need this to, so you know how much airspace
Yeah.
you've used up, so you know how much to put away in reserves, because you've
Yeah.
used that much of your landfill. I mean, I would be in favor of doing the $2,800 survey. Because it'll help out in the long run for budgeting and everything.
Do we have $830 somewhere else in the budget line? Would offset, or does council need to consider finding $830?
we'll figure it
in
out.
the budget line?
No, we do accept revenues, a lot of tipping fees, et cetera, et cetera. Yes.
and we put this money aside every year anyway.
Well, we do put 2,000 aside because,
So we need to up it.
not that I disagree with the chair. It was my presumption that you did it every 2 years, a post-closure report. But the post-closure report is just based on like how many households, how much they think will be going into the landfill. It's all a stipulated formula. Like it's not really because we don't have, because we don't have.
Right.
Yeah, but they can tell you how much airspace you use.
Mm,
Your landfill is all about airspace, right?
yes, and this one is 3D. They'll know where it's hot,
Well, yeah.
all
I mean,
kinds of stuff.
We don't need to go to the best one. I mean, we don't need the.
Renegotiate the service agreement
Mhm.
and to
Like
go
an
back out
RFP?
and get
Yeah.
quotes again.
Moved by Paquette, second by Corbett, that the Public Works Committee recommends to council that the quote from Pinchin for the topographical survey be accepted for the cost of $2,830 plus HST, and that the work will be performed later in the fall. All in favor? Carried. Oh, we're still on landfill.
Extending Wednesday evenings. We had discussion, however, we've never had a motion of council to change the level of service. That's why we're back at this conversation. We did a budget to have the landfill open on Wednesday evenings during the winter. We're going to start taking a count at the gate effective Wednesday evening, because this would be normally the last evening we're open on Wednesdays. There is some logistics to the entirety. So we did look into renting construction lighting. You tell them how much property you need to light up, and they say we need 2 lights to be able to light up that entire property. We would also have to put lights in